Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural Innovative Health Initiative Kickoff and Brokerage event. My name's Catherine Brett. I'm a member of the communications team at the IHI Program Office, and I'm going to be your moderator today. And so in that role, I have some housekeeping notes for you. You are, of course, the people in the room, not the only attendees. We are also broadcasting this online, and we're recording the sessions as well, so we'll also put those recordings online along with all of the presentations, so you'll have them. If you have any questions, there is a Slido for you, and the hashtag is IHI brokerage, all in one word. Send in questions in any time. There's a team of people up at the back there moderating them all and keeping an eye on them, and they will flag up to me the most pertinent ones and the most popular ones as well, and we'll get through as many as we can. So having delivered those housekeeping messages, I would like to hand over to Hugh Laverty, who is Head of Scientific Operations at IHI, to give the opening speech. And joining him and joining us virtually from Luxembourg is Anna Chiotti, who is the new chair of the IHI Science and Innovation Panel. Thank you.
So thank you, Catherine. Good morning, everyone here in the room, and good morning to everyone online. And thank you for taking the time to join us for the Innovative Health Initiative's first brokerage event. As you've already heard, my name is Hugh Laverty, and I'm the Head of Scientific Operations. And I'm hoping that you're all aware that IHI is Europe's new partnership for health, and we are a collaboration between the European Union and 5 different health industry associations. And they are MedTech Europe, Europa Bio, CASIR, Vaccines Europe, and FPA. Now, this morning you're going to hear an introduction to the topics that we intend to include in our first calls, as well as some background information on our rules and procedures. So I don't intend to give you an in-depth blow-by-blow account of what IHI is or how it works. However, there are a couple of important points that I'd just like to emphasize and highlight before we start. The first is we're a public-private partnership, and we implement our program via the projects that we fund. We identify those projects through open competitive calls, and our funding model is a matched funding model. So it's really important to remember that for every euro of public funding that we commit, we need to bring €1 of private funding as well. The scope of IHI is much broader than previous initiatives, and we're aiming to fund projects that will tackle challenges across the entire continuum of care. This broader scope, of course, is naturally reflected in the different industry associations that are participating, but they're reflected in our legislation and the objectives as set out in our strategic research and innovation agenda. Under IHI, you can expect us to launch a lot more single-stage calls. If you've already looked at the draft topic texts, which are on our website, you will already see that the single-stage calls are shorter and they're much more open than those of the past. So this means that you, the applicants, have much more flexibility in deciding how you want to address the objectives set out in a particular topic. In many cases, we will actually fund more than one proposal per single-stage topic. So that actually means that different ideas or approaches may actually be funded for a particular challenge. This also means that some of you who might have been used to working with the IMI office in the past, where we gave you a lot of advice and guidance, Under IHI, because it's more bottom up, there is less that we can tell you. It's really up to you as the applicants to write a coherent and convincing proposal that is going to convince the panel of independent experts that your idea is the best way to address the objectives of the topic text, as well as lead to the important impacts that we expect. We are also going to be more open to receiving external ideas when it comes to trying to include ideas in our future calls. We're working hard on a portal. It's not quite ready yet, but we will have a portal on our website where those of you who are interested will be able to submit your ideas. Naturally, they will be discussed by the IHI office and also with our Science and Innovation panel. And if we see that they are aligned with our objectives, are going to lead to the impacts that we need to demonstrate as a programme, we'll try to include them in future call topics. So we hope the portal will be ready in a month or so. If you're interested, please keep an eye on our website. So, given the broader scope of IHI and our desire and need to break down the barriers between not only different technological areas but also different industry sectors, we have organised this brokerage event. So bear with us. This is the first one we've ever done, and you're learning a lot about IHI. We're also in a learning process as well, trying to understand how this works. So if you've got ideas, suggestions, feedback, we'd love to hear from you at the end of the event. So we wish you fruitful discussions. We hope that you are able to establish good links with different organisations that maybe you haven't worked with in the past, and this will lead to beneficial connections and collaborations in the future. IHI has two advisory bodies. The first is our States Representative Group, and many of you might be aware of that because we had it under IMI 1 and IMI 2. But the second is our Science and Innovation Panel, which is new to IHI. And it has an important role in providing feedback on scientific and technological areas to our governing board on the work of the office. So areas that particularly are active will be in feedback on our call topic texts, whether we need to revise our strategic research and innovation agenda, helping us to identify synergies with other programmes at the European and national level. So I'm very pleased to be able to introduce Anna Chiotti, the chair of our Science and Innovation panel, to share with us her vision of both what IHI should be doing and how the SIP can help IHI achieve its objectives. Anna is the head of the Division of Pharmacy and Medicines at the Ministry of Health in Luxembourg. She has a wide range of expertise from general clinical practice and preventive medicine, public health and clinical research, to pharmaceutical and regulatory affairs. She has worked across a range of different settings, from academia, private companies, and now within government. She also understands public-private partnerships very well, as she was a member of the scientific committee under IMI2. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome you today, and it's with great pleasure that I hand over to Anna. And Anna, if you are with us, the floor is yours.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I had a small connection problem to start with, so
don't worry, Anna, we can hear you and see you. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. I think my connection is a little bit unstable. I'm not sorry about that. I think it's due to the... Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I guess you can hear me, so I'll start. So thank you very much for the introduction. It's also a pleasure for me to welcome you all in this meeting in my role as the chair of the Science and Innovation Panel of IHI. It has already been mentioned that this is a new group of a new advisory body to the IHI, and in our role, we will be advising the governing board regarding the scientific priorities and the draft call topics, but also look after the way to achieve better scientific outputs for projects funded by IHI. So our aim is to provide an independent advice aiming to achieve sustainable look and interdisciplinarity, but also patient-centric health research and innovation. So personally, I was a former member of the scientific committee of IMI, and I'm really pleased to be able to continue the journey with IHI and build on the lessons learned from IMI, especially on topics such as sustainability of research projects and how we can translate this into available, accessible, and affordable medical innovation. So I believe that not only cross-disciplinary, but also cross-sectoral collaborations, as it was mentioned, these cross-sectoral collaborations in research and innovation are key in helping us address and better respond to current and emerging health needs. So today, the event marks the kickoff of a new scientific journey, which will help, we hope, creating impactful project proposal based on your ideas, and especially to build partnerships aiming at translating health research and innovation into real benefits for patients and society. So since we have, I'm not sure still if you can hear me, but I would like to be brief with this introduction. I think it's important that you have the time to discover the calls and provide your feedback and ideas and gather and build strong partnerships. And I will finish by quoting Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, saying that great discoveries and improvements invariably involve the cooperation of many minds. So I wish you to have fruitful collaborations today, leading to strong partnerships tomorrow. So thank you very much. And with this, I hand over to the IHI office.
Thank you very much, Anna. So now it's time to start talking about the topics. And before we do that, we want to run our first Slido poll. So if we can bring that up on the screen, please. And the question is, which of the 6 core topics that we are presenting today are you most interested in? So you can see the hashtag there is IHI brokerage in all one word. So if we can just get that question launched. In the meanwhile, I would like to invite our next speakers to come up onto the stage. So presenting the Core 1 topics, we have people from the scientific team in the IHI program office. So we have Elisabetta Valdano, who will present the neurodegenerative diseases topic, Tek Ang Lim on imaging and cancer, Usama Karoum on the multimodal cancer therapies topic, and Colm Carroll on the health data topic. So if you could all come up onto the stage. And for the Call 2 topics, which are of course it's the 2-stage call, and there we are delighted to welcome the industry topic writers. So we have Matthias Müllerborn from Novo Nordisk for the cardiovascular diseases topic, and Andrea Rapagliosi of Edwards Life Sciences. So if you could all come up to the stage, and I don't know, is the poll, I'm just trying to see up the back there, is the poll running? Can we see? Oh, no, that's a different question. Okay, well, we have some other interesting data then. So we have another question. Have you already applied for funding under another part of Horizon Europe? So this will be useful for our speakers when we get to the rules and procedures to have a little bit of an idea of how familiar we are. Maybe we'll take the question on the topics a little bit later. So this one is up now. Okay, great. So maybe if you could start voting on this one as well, just to get an idea of who is working on it, and for you as well to see how many potential partners you might have in the audience as well for your networking purposes. So there's a lot of interest in the cardiovascular diseases one. It's shifting slightly, but yeah. And also the imaging and cancer. So Elisabeth is muttering, not surprised, not surprised. Okay, I think we can close those polls now, so thank you very much for your input there. So I'm going to get off the stage because it's quite crowded now, and I will invite Elisabetta to give the first presentation, and then you can go straight on with the rest.
Okay, shall I move? So, good morning, everybody, and thank you all, first of all, to be here. And I will start with presenting in a nutshell, the content of the first topic of the call one, that is a single stage. So as Hugh Laverty said, is a new concept of something really where applicant will really be able to propose their approach to better tackle this topic. And the title is An Innovative Decision Support System for Improved Care Pathway for Patients with Neurodegenerative Diseases and Comorbidity. And now, okay. And I think I lost the first slide, but I will talk about the fact that the challenge in this topic. So the fact is, of course, is about neurodegenerative diseases, and we all know that these diseases are extremely important in the sense of impact on society and also on the individual. And also the point is that the neurodegenerative diseases are complex because the patient population often is not, let's say, a pure population, but is a population that also presents other concurrent disease, so-called comorbidity, that complicated, of course, the course of the disease from the diagnosis to then the management care of the patient. And clearly also another challenge is the fact that there are many silos between the different specialties that have to look after these patients, and this clearly is something that would be extremely important and to break, to really provide a more holistic approach to the care and really how to help the pathway in the healthcare system of this patient. So in this context, the scope in this topic that has an overall budget of 15 million euro is really to try to look at the possibility to develop a decision support system to enhance medical decision with targeted clinical knowledge, patient information, and other health information. Then this is a single stage topic, therefore it is really up to the applicants to propose which patient population with which specific neurodegenerative diseases they consider is the one that is best to consider for this topic. And of course it will be important to consider the evidence of the importance of comorbidities in shaping the development of the diseases, and of course also the impact of this on the care pathway for this type of patient. And also for what concerns the possible comorbidity that applicant could propose, there is only one caveat with the exclusion of cancer. Otherwise, it's again up to the applicant to propose which comorbidity they think is important for a specific patient neurodegenerative condition they are considering. And of course, they will have to justify their choice considering the burden for the patient, the care, and finally, and importantly, the availability of medical technology generated data in this area. And why all this is because the idea is really to try to achieve a more holistic, breaking silos across medical specialties and across stakeholders approach to managing and treating patients with a neurodegenerative disease and a comorbid condition. And this is important, of course, to address the needs of the patient today, but also with a eye on the fact that we might also have a condition where, in a situation where in the future, hopefully we could have some new treatment developing, and then it will be extremely important to be able to also decide which patient can have the best benefit with some treatment more than another. And so the applicant will have to propose a package of activities, and that will be up to them. And then, of course, will be evaluated by the expert panel. But it is expected that the activity will, at the end, provide as outcomes. So some sustainable digital platform that will be able to be used both by the patient but also by the medic, of course, population, that will be easy, adaptable then for use in other health areas. It is also important that applicants propose their solution to achieve a sustainable framework for collaboration across specialties and stakeholders to foster not only, let's say, scientific innovation, but important also social innovation. So it's all about breaking silos and creating collaboration. It will be also important to achieve standard and guidelines for data collection and also for the operation of the digital platform that is proposed, which will be extremely important for enable future medical technology innovation. And of course, also it will be important to propose activity that will end up in enhance more reliable tools and methods for near-time feedback on health intervention, which will be very important to support joint patient-doctor decision-making. And last but not least, also an enhanced clinical interpretation of complex data influencing variation in the patient status require care for the benefit, of course, both for the patient and also of the healthcare provider that have to care for these demanding patient populations. And here I would like to thank you. And of course, much more detail you can find it in the topic text, and will be also presented at the webinar that will be on the 23rd of this month. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Elisabetta, and thank you. Welcome to this presentation. I had the chance to talk about the topic 2 in call 1, which is on the next generation imaging and image guiding diagnosis and therapy for cancer. And as has been said earlier, this is a snapshot of the call topic text. If you want further detail, I invite you to look at the call topic text, which is published on our website. I'll try to get to this. How does it work? Green. This is what it did. Okay, thank you. I had a trouble looking at the different greens
I
in
have
the,
to
in the control.
walk with me.
Sorry. So the challenge of the second topic is to provide early evidence on improved cancer patient care when using next-generation image technologies and image-guided solutions as part of combined cancer therapies. We hope that the optimized image-based care path from early diagnosis and screening to treatment and follow-up is essential to improve the outcome of cancer patients and help optimize the clinical workflows as well as the cancer patient journey. The scope of the topic is as follows. We want you to contribute to the development of high-quality tools, high-quality data, advanced patient imaging and image-guided technologies and processes for improved early diagnosis, prognosis, staging, intervention planning, therapy, and management of cancer and long-term follow-up. So as you see, the scope is very, very broad for this topic, and those should cover all those diagnosis, prognosis, intervention planning, etc. We wanted to enable the development of improved artificial intelligence and machine learning validation and evaluation methodologies for imaging and image-guiding diagnosis and image-guided therapy for cancer. All proposals will compete for a total IHI funding of 40 million euros, so there will be most likely more than just one proposal funded under the topic 2. The expected outcomes that we would like to see for this proposal is to expand the use of cancer patient imaging data resources with improved data quality, annotation, and computability, contributing to solutions that automatically link images to clinical data in order to improve the diagnostic, staging, predictive, and therapeutic tools for clinicians, including image-guided tools. We also would like the project to develop robust evaluation and validation framework for artificial intelligence machine learning-based algorithms applied to cancer patient images in order to improve the image-guided diagnostic, prediction of therapy outcome, planning, and therapy of cancer patients. And last but not least, we want you to propose novel and continuously self-learning, trustworthy, explainable AI machine learning-enabled image-guided diagnostic, therapy planning, and interventional systems used in clinical hospitals and possibly related benchmarks, because there are no benchmark at the moment, and it would be nice to come up with a set of benchmark at the end of the project. And with that, I give the floor to my colleague.
Good morning, everyone. So it's my pleasure today to present you the IHI Call 1 Topic 3 on innovative people-centered multimodal therapies against cancer. As you know, there are different treatment modalities to treat different types of cancer. And the biology of cancer is different from within the same indication from one patient to another, which show the need to adapt the treatment to the patients. Sorry. And multimodal therapies have shown to be of high value these days. So there is a strong need to increase the patients, to increase the therapeutic arsenal around multimodal therapies. So, sorry, because I don't have the right slides. The scope of the topic is to combine at least two treatment modalities to develop new technologies to be adapted with current therapies, but also to develop new research protocols to be explored via early clinical studies to assess the safety, the efficacy, but also to demonstrate the feasibility of the combined multimodal therapy. There is also, proposal should also assess the clinical decision-making process among the different disciplines involved. And there is also, the scope of the topic is also to develop methodologies and standards for combining multimodal therapies. So the expected outcomes are, there are two main expected outcomes here. So the first one is to build a platform for collaborations across sector, but also to develop standards for cancer healthcare pathway, and also to demonstrate the benefits of multimodal therapies. But one of the main expected outcomes is also to improve health innovation through cancer therapy by developing new multimodal treatment modalities, but also including active monitoring of patients and also having the patients much more involved in the cancer patient journey. So with that, I will hand over to my colleague, Colm.
All right, thank you, Osama, and good morning, everyone. So my name is Colm Carroll, and I'm the Scientific Officer following Call 1 Topic 4, which, as you can see here, is on the access integration of heterogeneous health data for improved healthcare in disease areas of high unmet public health need. As with the other Call 1 topics, this is a single-stage topic, so therefore we expect applicants to form and apply as a public-private partnership. Okay, so the challenge we're hoping to address with this topic, and I think most of you are probably already aware of this, is that there's a huge explosion in the amount of data that's available that could be useful for healthcare. And by this type of data, we don't just mean data such as electronic healthcare records or clinical trial data and so on, but also all the data made available through sensors, wearables, smartphones, apps, etc., etc. And while this data could be very valuable for use in healthcare, of course, at the moment it's very, very difficult to do so because accessing that data is difficult. When it's accessed, integrating it is difficult, and then making sense of the data to really have an impact on patients' lives is also difficult. And therefore, the aim of this topic is to do exactly that, to try and take diverse data, all these different types of data I already mentioned, put them together in a platform to make them available to researchers, to be able to build tools on top of that to improve patients' lives. And some of the tools we specifically want to be built in this topic are patient-focused and also healthcare professional-focused. So the scope of the topic is, first of all, we want applicants to choose disease areas that they think are most important. These should be of high unmet public health need. And if you read the topic text, you'll see a stronger definition of that there. But then with this disease area, we want people to develop a platform or ideally further develop an existing platform. As we know there's a lot out there, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And then once the platform is developed, we want to develop tools on top of that for, as I said, the needs of patients, the needs of clinicians, and then to demonstrate the added value of the platform and the tools as part of the project. This project is not just a small project that's standalone and stops at the end, so we want whatever is developed in the project to have widespread applicability outside of the immediate scope of the project. So when you're applying, you have to think about that. And of course, the last bullet here, the long-term access to the data and the tools are also very, very important. This project should be seen as a catalyst for what comes afterwards rather than a time-limited project by itself. So rather than present unexpected outcomes which match the scope quite precisely, I want to give you a bit of an idea of what sort of consortium we think should be applying to address these objectives. And first of all, the data we want to access is expected to come from both public and private sources, as IHI is a public-private partnership. So your consortium should be able to access these both types of data, and I think from the private source as well, we should reflect the full industry scope of IHI. And then we would expect a consortium to be able to take expertise from especially patients. I think Anna mentioned this morning already that we want all our topics to be patient-centric, and obviously the data we're going to access in this topic will come from the patients. Therefore, having patients in the consortium will be essential to ensure that the outputs address the patient's needs. And likewise, healthcare professionals, we want tools to address the needs of healthcare professionals, so they should be in the topic as well. Obviously, data specialists, academic researchers specializing in data, SMEs, we know there's a lot of SMEs working in this space as well. And of course, at the bottom there, both the pharma and the medtech industries representing the private part of IHI. So I'll just finish by saying hopefully you're interested in this topic. If you want to find out more, we're hosting a webinar next week. It's on Wednesday in the morning, so if you're interested, please do register on our website for the webinar, and I'll hope to see you there. And I'll hand over to the next speaker.
Yes, thank you. My name is Matthias Möllenborn. I'm from Novo Nordisk, and this is a two-stage topic that I'm going to present here. And the two-stage topics have been kind of pre-identified by the private players, and there's a pre-commitment in terms of financial contribution to this project. And the topic that I want to present is cardiovascular diseases, and why is this relevant? Well, cardiovascular diseases and heart failure, that's the major cause of death worldwide, globally. So it's a real problem and a real burden for society. And so we have in Europe, in the EU, 60 million people living with cardiovascular disease, and roughly a cost of 210 billion euros. And so that's a real big burden. And so there's a lot of attention to that. The problem with the disease is really that today we have some good treatments, but the problem is that we basically do a one-size-fits-all treatment, and we need a better classification of the disease progresses, and we have to identify the patients very early on in their disease progression to be able to help them. So for that, we have to understand better what is the cause and the progression of, so we have to identify risk factors. So the whole understanding of the different diseases, interventions, and how they work, and moving into a more personalized medicine approach. So really smarter design and development and evaluation of novel therapies. So to get to the right treatment for the right patient at the right time. And what we suggest is a project really focusing on that. So focusing on the early identifiers, early risk factors. And with that, we have to actually gather data much earlier than we do today. And we have to use new sources of data, so including, for example, wearables, including all the identifiers that we can get from the healthcare system, but also biometric data, so more data that the patient is owning and empowering that way the treatment. And so we are moving into prevention, really, for sure, secondary prevention, but hopefully also primary prevention, and really move into that. So that's the idea of this topic, and what we expect as an outcome is really to that we find new ways of gathering and making use of the data. And that we identify new pathways and hurdles, and then solve those and find solutions, new solutions. So we need that, and we need a platform. So the database, of course, is really at the center. So we have to also make sure that we can access the data. We can that the data is harmonized. That was also mentioned in some of the other proposals, and so that we can work with the data. And of course in a compliant way. And then we also need this platform. So the project is also a platform where we have all these different stakeholders around the table, including the patients, including the healthcare systems, the hospitals, and companies and academics in one project. And so yeah, that's really what we are aiming at. And obviously, the solution we come up with has to be sustainable and has to be workable, also moving forward after the project is finished. In terms of what we expect from the applicant consortium, so that's the public consortium that's then applying to our call. We hope that the applicant consortium can both has a plan for data capture and storage and sharing, and can bring these data and the concepts to the table. Of course, then the whole disease understanding is a big thing that where we can draw on the experience out in many academic areas and research institutes, and really that we develop algorithms and mechanisms to make use of those data, including patient-reported outcome measures, and then move into piloting novel treatments. The consortium, the industry consortium in the first place, has access to some clinical data and biobank data. There's a lot of expertise with the companies as well in the first place, and technologies, for example, wearable devices. So that's what the companies bring, and you see a list of the pre-identified partners down here, and with a total in-kind contribution of 10.6 million euros, which will then be matched with another 10.6 by the IHI office. I think this is... This was well. Yes, thank you.
Thanks a lot. My name is Andrea Rapagliosi. I would say I cannot resist to say that I'm happy to present really what I consider one of the best proposals that the European Commission has never seen in the space of early research. That's the story. We are talking about early feasibility study. The concept is really threefold: creating a favorable environment for early stage research and clinical investigation in Europe, having a positive impact on quality and timelines of early evidence generation, and re-attract, if you wanna, investment in Europe in early research, which obviously has also consequences in all the plan of research and development. The challenge that we face when we look at that and we were thinking at this project is first, patients have delays in access. When we take delays in access, because the earlier you start to study a technology, the earlier you start to generate, obviously you create in the scientific community, in the medical community, knowledge about the disease, knowledge about the right time to treat and how to treat this patient. The fact I was saying that Europe is losing attraction for early clinical trials investment. And the European clinical excellence is struggling to keep the pace of other regions of the world. So the early feasibility study, de facto, today, they don't have a framework, operational framework, a standardized operational framework in Europe. They are legally doable. There is a normative, a legislative pathway, but there's not really how to do it. And that's the sense of this call. So the idea is to set a tested and trialed European methodology to promote the uptake of early feasibility studies on 3 legs. Really the start part of guidelines, templates, blueprint, the how to do it in line with the European regulation, how to navigate all that, how to make it friendly user, create an online European portal to secure that the right stakeholder networks, here we are talking about SMEs, spin-off from university, young researcher, patient involved in this condition, medical society, and then trialing in terms of generating a few use cases to test the methodologies as such. What we expect? We expect 4 things that are critical for this project. Patients are engaged from the start. Patients today are taking the reins of the research that is done on them. So they have to sit and to be there at the beginning. Having a good regulators, HTA bodies, notifying bodies, around the table, have a common understanding of potentiality of technology from the beginning from regulators. Having healthcare professional, medical society, hospital research, university hospital, immediately having the understanding of new technologies that are provided by innovators, and including, as I said before, SMEs, spin-off, young researchers, and also companies that have a strong and consolidated research environment. What we are looking from the applicants, this is a 2-stage, so there are 6 companies, Medtronic, J&J, Johnson & Johnson, Gore, us, Edwards, and I have to remember the other 2, most probably. But so there are 6 companies. I will get there. And we are looking for the public contributor, regulators, healthcare professional, people that is really involved in the assessment of this technology and that can benefit from an early understanding of that. The idea is to co-create an European methodologies, facilitate an active and sustainable stakeholder network, develop an online portal, as I said before, with a budget of more than almost 11 million euros. What we will bring as an industry consortium is all our expertise as innovators, legal, ethical, compliance, regulatory, R&D, and also propose some breakthrough technologies that can be assessed, evaluated through these methodologies. So that's the sense of the project, and thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentations. We now have time for questions and answers. While you're sending in your questions, and again, the hashtag is IHI brokerage, or one word, I will just remind you, and a few speakers have alluded to it already, we have webinars on all of these topics over the next few weeks. I think if I click the next slide, maybe we'll go and we'll see a list of all the webinars, but the information is all on the IHI website as well. So do sign up for those. You will have much more detailed presentations on the topics, and you will also have a lot more time to ask questions. Another important point before I forget, of course, the two-stage topics with the industry writers today, now, during this event and during the webinars, you can ask them questions. However, you should not approach them privately and ask questions because it could create a conflict of interest. So if you have any questions after this presentation or outside of the webinar, please direct them to us at the IHI office. If you have questions today, the scientific officers responsible for those topics are here. I will just ask them to stand up. So for the cardiovascular diseases topic, it's Calliope, she's there. And for the early feasibility study, it's Natalie, who is there waving. So if you have any questions, please direct them to them. So we have a few questions in already. So here's a good one, and it's one for the colleagues with the one-stage topics, and part of the answer is this event, of course. How can industry partners be identified for the one-stage calls? Does anyone want to take that? You have microphones on your chairs, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can take that one. So that's one of the main purposes of this event, actually, is to help you find partners, both public partners, but also the industry partners, to apply for the calls. So I would suggest you wait for later in the day when people are going to give their pitches. Also look at our brokerage event website, where there's a lot of information on people who are interested in the different topics. And then it's really up to you to be proactive and engage with all these different people. And that's how you can identify who your potential partners could be, industry and publicly funded.
Okay, and while you have your microphone there, Colm, there's another question for you. Could the topic on health data be focused on a neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's, or are they excluded because there's another topic about them?
So we've deliberately left this completely open. However, as applicants will have to strongly justify, ideally with good evidence, why they've chosen a particular disease area, disease areas with, and you include comorbidities as well in that. So it is open, but with strong justification.
Okay. Another question as well, and I think this is especially for the single-stage topics where it is a little bit more open. How long should the project be? Elisabetta, you're looking ready to answer that one.
Well, I can
I think it goes automatically when you speak.
Okay, hopefully. Well, I think this is a single-stage topic, so it will be really up to the applicant to propose a sensible duration of their proposed project, considering the activity that they are planning to run, and also, of course, the available the budget. So it will be really then the evaluator that will look at this. But again, it is really up to the applicant consortium to consider this. And of course, it's up to the consortium also to decide who should be the best coordinator and what is the role of the different member of their consortium.
Okay, and there was another part of that question, it's just disappeared now, but I think there's another part, what kind of organizations can be a coordinator?
As I said, is up to the applicant consortium to decide which organization is better suited to be the coordinator.
Okay, great. I can see as well there's a question on the expected deadline. I think that will be covered in the next session, so you'll see some timelines there, so I won't go into that one now. Another question, though, for these people here. Do all the expected outcomes have to be addressed by the proposal? And if not, does a justification need to be included for each within the proposal? Tech.
So I can take that one. In the core topic text, you will see that regarding expected outcomes, whether or not you should meet all the expected outcomes or some of it. So that, for instance, in topic 2, it is explicitly written that all expected outcomes should be met, and therefore, if in your proposal you haven't met all the expected outcomes, then obviously a justification should be provided. Having said that, there is also in the core topic text a budget that has been proposed, so that in order to meet all the expected outcomes, then the proposal should be of at least, I think that was 10 million euros for topic 2. So it will be written in the core topic text.
Okay. We have a question now for our industry colleagues there at the end. So Dr. Rapagliosi, can the public consortium propose breakthrough technologies for the use cases, or is it only for the industrial consortium? I think if you just speak, it should they should trigger.
I think it's good. Yes, of course. I mean,
You need to speak into your microphone. Sorry.
See?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Like that? Okay, good. Obviously, I think it's really, if you want, a two-step in terms, the first one will be really setting the pure pre-competitive space and methodologies, a procedural framework, and then it will be from the participants that are public and private to propose, if they have one, a technologies to be tested and trial through that. Just I'll take 1 second more because when I listed the companies before, I forget to quote Abbott. So just to repeat, the companies are Medtronic, Abbott, J&J, Gore, Philips, and Edwards Life Sciences. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And another one for the 2 stages. Who is proposing the case studies? Is it stakeholders or industry?
So I can take this. Actually, from the industry consortium, the call text that you will see or have already is what the industry provides. So then it's really up to the applicants consortium to suggest case studies, and of course in the second phase we will work then together on fine-tuning that. But I also would like to confirm this further former question on should all the expected outcomes be addressed, and yes, it is clearly an expectation in the 2-stage for sure that all of the outcomes should be addressed. It's also mentioned in the call text, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think the key is going to be, and you will hear this advice a lot from us, read all of the call documentation carefully. We do have 2 different types of calls here. There are differences in the procedures and the way they're run, so really read the topic texts carefully, and the call conditions and all of the surrounding documentation. And if you have any questions or if something's not clear to you, do ask us, because this is new for all of us. So if anything's unclear or you're not sure, just drop us a line and we'll do our best to help you. We have a couple of questions now for Colm again. The health data topic is raising a lot of questions. So the first one, isn't the scope of harmonizing heterogeneous health data very similar to the concept of the European health data space, and will there be cooperation?
Yeah, so the European health data space is obviously a very exciting initiative coming down the line quite soon, so we're all quite excited by that. There's an expectation that this topic will explore collaborations with the HDS for sure. And I guess we expect probably for nearly all of our topics that at least they do explore such a collaboration, so data-generated access could feed into the HDS later on. So yes, very much so, and if you read the topic text, we would ask people to actively synergize with the HDS for this particular topic.
Right, and also on the health data topic, there was also a question on how it's a bit hard to find out what data industry has. Will there be data catalogs published by the industry partners in order to design data harmonization and analytics strategy?
So as this is a single stage topic, the expectation is that the consortium that applies has both the publicly funded partners and the industry partners who should be able to bring their data with them. So in other words, it's up to you as applicants to get together before the call deadline and put your proposal together, including these elements here, and submit that, and then it'll be evaluated. So I would say people should actively reach out to industry now using this event to address that issue.
But if it's for 2-stage, it's of course a bit more tricky, because then you cannot ask industry because you're not really supposed to get in touch. But I guess that's a really, really good question, and I think again it would be also the second phase for the 2-stage, I think.
Okay, another question which is more for the stage 1 colleagues, because for the stage 2 colleagues, the question how many projects will be selected for each topic. For the 2-stage topics, there will just be one. It's similar as it was in most of the IMI projects, which were 2-stage calls. However, for the single-stage calls, there are some differences. So maybe, I think there are cases where there could be more than one project per topic. Does anyone want to come in on that?
Yes, I can take this one. So I think it will all depends on the budget that will be proposed by the top-ranked proposals. Unlike under IMI 1 and unlike in the stage 2, in the 2-stage call here, under the single-stage call, we expect at least two proposals, I think, to be funded per topic. But it will all depend on the budget that will be required by each proposal and which one will be selected.
But I think there are some indications in the topic text if there is an expectation that there will be more than one project.
Yes, there is there is expectation in terms of the funding which is expected to be requested per proposal. It's in the draft topic text. It will be in the finalized topic text as well. But other amounts of funding could also be proposed. That's the reason why we can't say now how many proposals will be selected.
Yeah. Okay, but again, it's a question of read the topic text carefully. This is something that's different, and I would suggest as well, come along to the webinar, because then for each topic, this will be explained in more detail. We don't have time for this today. We only have a few minutes per topic, but there will be more time at the webinar, so sign up for those. By the way, I saw a question going past asking if the recording and the presentations from today will be online. The answer is yes. So you can go back and check all the answers. Another question on cancer imaging. Is translation towards a commercial product, should that be part of the work packages?
This is a very interesting question. We talked about that in the working group, but I think that if ultimately the outcome of the project, can I see the question again? Because please. Ultimately, if there is a commercial product at the end of the project, this would be a fantastic outcome. However, seeing how early stage the project is, we don't expect to have anything that would be commercialized at the end of the project. If it would be possible, then that would be great. But I don't think that it's mature enough to be able to be commercialized at the end.
Okay, thank you. Another question, are rare diseases included in any of the topics? Elisabetta?
Well, as we also already briefly said, I mean, there is quite an open approach to the single stage topic, and therefore there is opportunity, of course, also for rare disease, as well as the applicant, of course, well argue their case.
Maybe I can complement here. Yeah. Maybe in topic 3 on cancer, there is no requirements for the indications of cancer, so rare cancers can also be considered.
Okay. There is another question here on SMEs, and we'll come to that in a moment. So, Colm, maybe we can park that question for you later. You can address that. And there's another question here, which is a little bit more procedural, but I think with the expertise we have in terms of scientific officers, can 2 complementary consortia submit a joint proposal for the single stage call? I mean, I think that would just be one very big consortium. So,
well, indeed, it would be one proposal, one consortium. So if in the applicant write a proposal indicating that they are having 2 approaches that are integrated and together in a single proposal, that again will be up to the applicant. But the principle would be one consortium, one proposal.
Okay. And now a question for Matthias on the cardiovascular call. The public and private sectors are already matched. Have sales yet, but have, sorry, it moved. Cardiovascular call, the public and private sectors already matched, create a consortium and submit a proposal, so there is no need to recruit private funding.
Yeah, so if I understand the question right, it's true. There's no need for raising further private money because the private consortium is in place. So the industry support is there, but it's not matched with the public sector yet because that's the consortium that's still to be built and to apply for the funding. But yeah, that's true. There is funding, and the public consortium can apply for that.
So, I mean, we'll go into this in a moment with the next presentation on the rules and procedures, but indeed, with the 2-stage topics, the industry consortium is predefined, so you don't need to, and in fact, as I said, you should not contact them. They're there, and then the top-ranking applicant consortium will work with them at a later stage to form the full consortium. So it's a slightly different thing. Of course, for the Call 1 topics, you will need to find industry partners now for stage 1. Early feasibility study topic, yeah. Andrea, so there's a question for you. Can the methodology developed be with a pediatric focus, or should it be general?
I think I don't like the term general. I think it should be omni-comprehensive. In other words, obviously, we are talking here about developing a standardized, harmonized framework, procedural frameworks to do that. And there will be chapter on pediatric, like chapter on geriatrics, where multimorbidity is there, and several elements in the early stage research should be considered. So it's not one antagonistic, it's not an or. It will be comprehensive of the different dimensions. The idea is really creating methodologies that can accelerate different type of early feasibility studies with different patient population in terms also of generation and aging.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a general question, which I think may be more for some of the broader Call 1 topics. It says, many results expected are already funded by the Horizon program. Should the participants build the innovative solutions on them?
I can take that one. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I think in my topic in particular, and I guess for all topics, it's very important that we don't reinvent the wheel. We don't develop things that are already developed that are of good quality. So where possible, please do bring in existing solutions and improve them within the topic. And these don't necessarily have to be ones that have already been funded by Horizon or the EU. They could be from elsewhere. I think it's very important that we build on good quality innovations already and build something better rather than start from scratch, unless you really need to. And that would have to be very well justified to explain why.
Okay. Yes.
There was a question on SMEs and startups. I don't know, but I would like to address that.
Go for it.
Because I refer to that also in my presentation. I think that are much needed. And it's not, again, SME startups. I refer to spin-off from university, can be different consortia. But when we are talking about, especially in the EFS, in early feasibility studies, we are talking about technologies that are not in the market. We are really in the pre-market. So there are different moments of the pre-market. So the knowledge and the need, very clear, of SMEs and startups and spin-off are really required. It would be great to have them on board.
Okay, thank you. Another question for the topic on next generation imaging. Is a proof of concept clinical trial possible in topic 2, next generation imaging, or should the proposal focus more on technology?
Thank you for the question. This is also a very interesting question for topic 2. And if we refer to the Call topic text once again, they're talking about evaluation and validation, and therefore we can understand validation as a proof of concept as well, although I'm not sure that you find the wording proof of concept in the Call topic text, but we still talk about validation.
Okay, thank you. And now a couple of questions on the cardiovascular topic. What is the main focus? Prediction, prevention, diagnosis, monitoring, or everything?
Everything, as I mentioned before. So that I guess these things go also hand in hand, but that's really because these are comprehensive projects, right? So they have many different work packages. So I think that should be possible. And yeah, I can also take the next one.
So the next question is: the list of identified industrials fixed, or can it still evolve?
Yes, and so what you've seen is that the companies that have committed in kind, that's the ones that have committed for now. But of course, if other companies can join the call, but we will not receive additional matching funding from the office for this call. But yeah, it can evolve, and it does happen.
Okay, and another question. Can the project concepts, can they be novel proof of concepts, or are only advanced proposals funded, even for the single stage calls? So I don't know if this refers to any specific topic, but...
Maybe, yeah. I can speak for, at least for topic 3. So the distinction between advanced as novel, it could be novel and advanced at the same time, but I guess that, for instance, for topic 3, it's expected to have clinical trials conducted within the lifetime of the project to assess safety, efficacy, and demonstrate feasibility of the multimodal approach. Meaning that for having this new technology, novel technologies, it should be advanced enough to be tested in a clinical trial to get the regulatory approval for starting clinical trials, obviously. So, and I think it will depend on the topic whether or not clinical trials are expected.
Okay, and another question there for you, Andrea, on your topic. Are the potential trials and pilot cases focused in any specific condition, or are they open to all?
Absolutely open to all, and this will be, again, there are two steps. One is setting a methodology that is horizontal, and then testing and trialing the methodologies. Ideally, should not be all on the same condition in terms to see different technologies that can cover and can profit of this dedicated pathway.
Okay. Let me just check if we have any more questions tagged for this one. I can see there's quite a lot of questions coming in. As I said, there's another one now for the neurodegenerative topic. So for you, Elisabetta, is proof of concept or patient follow-up required for the call on an innovative decision support system for neurodegenerative diseases?
It's not required. I mean, it's again, it is a quite open and broad topic, and if applicants feel that for the achievement and delivery of the outcome, this is the best approach, then of course they should go for it. But that will be their decision.
Okay, and then another question for you, Andrea. Can the trials include medtech, drugs, or both? Very good question for a multi-sectoral partnership.
Absolutely, we are going very, very fast there because, again, first we have to set the methodologies and then see where we go. But definitely, in the early discussion we had also with the IHI office and with the Commission before, we were thinking to innovative medical devices or implantable that release drugs or manage drugs, so all these combined therapies. So there is a lot of that space that will be taken for sure, I'm expected into consideration. But again, there's no limitation a priori.
Okay, thank you. Another question, which I think is quite a broad one. Patients and patient representatives are mentioned in many calls. Have we set an patient engagement quality criteria, for example, building on IMI paradigm and PFMD? Does anyone want to? Is that addressed specifically in any of the topics?
I can say a little bit about that. So that's a very good question, actually. I don't think we have done that, but obviously we want to build on all the learnings from previous IMI projects, and that's an obvious thing that we should take into account. So we have done a lot of learnings in how to engage patients in projects, and there are many different models, and that's for sure something we take with us.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think we have maybe time for just one more question before we move on to the next session. And I think it can go for you as well, especially seeing as the call 2 topics are a bit more sensitive in terms of people asking you questions later. For the call on CVD, wearables are in the list of what the industrials bring. Does this mean applicants are less expected to contribute on that point?
Not really, actually. Well, it's a good point, but of course it will take quite a bit if the applicants would have a device. But I mean, it could be possible, and it could be a startup, as you mentioned, or an SME. That is definitely, we are open to that, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think it's time for us now to move on to the next session. So thank you very much to all of the speakers for their presentations.